Welcome to the Chamber Members Podcast. Today's special guest is Shannon Hostetler with Hostetler Insurance Group. During this episode, we'll get to hear how they built a very successful agency and some great industry tips. We'll be right back. First, a shout out to SPS Consulting Systems for supporting this week's episode. If your business needs to implement some process improvements, technology integration, or just need some IT support, reach out to my friend Sean Hetrick at SPS Consulting Systems. They want your problems. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. Yeah, what an honor and a privilege it is to be here. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. We're excited to share your story with our connections and fellow chamber members. So tell us a little bit about how what your business is doing now, and we'll get back to how you started.
Well, sure. We have an office. Our main office in the insurance industry is in Canton, Ohio. Our address is 4562 Dressler Road. We're up by Belden Village. So we've been there for a while, but we originally started an office. We have 4 locations. We have 4 offices. The first office that we had when we originally started back 12 years ago was in Newton Falls, Ohio. So I bought a book of business there, a unique story that maybe we can get into a little bit later, but sure. It's really neat, kind of a fun fact about Newton Falls, Ohio. The zip code in Newton Falls, Ohio is 44444. Yeah. So we have a lot of fun with that. So then we also have an office right downtown Worcester, 146 East Liberty Street. We have a satellite office in Louisville, Ohio also. So we're kind of spread out. Nice. So that's kind of where we are, our locations.
Nice. What type of insurance products do you guys offer for your clients?
Well, Hostetler Insurance Group, we are an independent insurance agent. So really, guys, we focus in and we provide insurance for just about anything you can think of. Primarily what people are accustomed to in the insurance industry is your home and your auto. Mm-hmm. So we obviously provide, personal lines, your homes, your autos, your toys, motorcycles, travel trailers, campers, dune buggies, just about everything that you can think of. But we also have a very successful line on the commercial side of business. Myself and my partner, we really don't do many personal lines, so we specialize in the commercial industry. So really, if it needs insured, we can insure it, not just things, but yourself as well. Offer life insurance and Medicare and a lot of other products as well.
And the independent agent aspect gives you a wide range of carriers to provide from, right?
It really, really does. Just to kind of, you had mentioned, Andreas, where we went. We have a unique story. We started back in 2012. December 1st, 2012 is when Hostetler Insurance Group was founded. And we actually started as a captive or an exclusive agent. We represented one carrier, did very well for that. With that, if it didn't meet that individual carrier's guidelines, we were kind of stuck. But it was, that's how we started out, and it was really great. And through the years, we've progressed into an independent agency. As you said, Sean, really has opened up some floodgates for us. Yeah.
Nice.
On the corporate side, do you have like certain industries you guys normally in, like retail, factory, warehouse?
Sure,
kind of do it all.
That's a great question. And really, we're not limited. On the commercial side, being an independent agent, as we talked about, we have so many carriers where there's, some carriers that don't like a particular risk where others will. So commercially, we are able to provide insurance for your retail, your wholesale, nonprofit organizations, just about any aspect of commercial, from your general liabilities to your commercial auto, your commercial buildings, just about anything, contractors, inland marines, tools. So we have a wide variety of products that we offer through our carriers.
That's great.
Well, I want to say thank you. You were one of the first people I met at the tips and with the chamber and stuff, and I really appreciate you bringing me in and kind of introducing me to some people and being open and talking. So that was really a big thing for me, starting out my business, and really helped me kind of feel comfortable in those environments. I really appreciate that.
Well, and thank you for that. At Hostetler Insurance Group, that's really what we focus on. We really focus on relationships. I've been a part of the chamber, and Molly Romig, boy, I tell you, what a superstar. I've been involved with chamber and tip clubs with Molly Romig for probably over 25 years.
Wow.
And so I am a true avid believer in the chamber. The tip clubs, the marketing groups, they work. They really do.
Nice. Awesome. What made you want to start an agency, your own agency?
Well, back when, we talked about when we first started, prior to opening up our first agency as an exclusive agent, I was working a little bit in the independent field, but I was also involved in mortgage lending. I was a loan officer. And there were just so many times, part of the process of doing a mortgage is, you have to have homeowners insurance.
Right.
The auto and the other things really didn't come into play. But there, I saw so many people that would ask questions about homeowners, and maybe they didn't understand something, or they weren't real happy. And it kind of, sparked. I thought, wow, I'd really like to be able to assist and get involved in that. So that's really kind of how the door opened up for us.
That's awesome. It's a great way to start too, because it's like a passion. It's something that you feel strongly about. And just run with it.
It was really neat, yeah. So, and the rest is history.
Right.
So, starting off, what were the biggest challenges you faced, and how'd you overcome them?
Well, I tell you, we have a unique story. Back when we opened our very first agency in Newton Falls, Ohio, as I shared, we were a captive agent. That was a third generation a carrier. In other words, the agency owner that I purchased the book of business from, his father owned it, and his father owned it. And at that time, his son was working for him, who was set to take over the agency. Wow. So just through the process, the carrier just, through evolution, things changed a little bit. And so there was some opportunities where they were able to look outside of the immediate family. And was very blessed, went through many corporate interviews with the carrier down in Columbus, Ohio, and was so blessed to have the opportunity to be awarded the agency. So that was a little challenging for the first couple years. Everyone thought that the son was going to be their next agent. So there was, a little bit of unsettling. So, how we overcame that is we had to work very hard. For the first year or 2 years, I can't tell you how many of our members, our insureds, that I met with personally, whether it was going to their home, whether it was going to their place of employment, where they were coming into the office just to more or less introduce ourselves, build a rapport, build a relationship, hopefully share our integrity. And so it was challenging, but we lost some clients because they were family committed, but it worked out really well.
It's good.
So, yeah.
So in the 12 years that you had Hostetler Insurance, is there something that, like a point in time, you can really point at that changed the course of the business? Or really?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sean. And that probably happened about 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of keep beating the broomstick there, being that captive and an exclusive agent, where we had the opportunity to become an independent insurance agent, where independent simply means that you have many more carriers that you're able to offer products to. So when that happened, because of being an exclusive agent, there were many things that particular carrier weren't interested in. There were risks that really didn't fit their appetite. So by becoming an independent insurance agency, it really opened up an opportunity for not only us, our members. So along with that, in the book of business, some of the agencies or the offices that we have, there were some older books of business, we call them, where they were, at the retirement age and things like that. So we saw an opportunity to get involved in Medicare. And so that also in the last few years has really changed our course of business, where, we've designated someone in our office to really take a lot of training. And so, with the new independent opportunities for many different risks available, along with Medicare now that we specialize in, that really changed our course of business. Has been very, very positive.
That's got to be crucial too for someone to have a trusted advisor in that Medicare space, because there's so many people trying to take advantage of them.
It does.
Someone that you've worked with for years, or that you have developed a rapport with.
Right. We all see the Jimmy Walker commercials on TV and the other ones, and it's that's fearful for someone that is older and really doesn't understand to call a 1-800 number. So, we really enjoy being able to meet our members one-on-one.
Makes sense.
So whenever I talked about Hostetler Insurance Group at the chamber members and the chamber meetings, people always have positive things to say about you guys.
Well, thank you.
It's always positive. Customer service is positive. So I'm sure that's not by accident. You know what? Why do clients come to you? What's kind of your competitive advantage? Is that service?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. As the agency owner, one of the agency owner, we really strive on customer service because, my name is on the business. We don't kid ourselves, but we confidently say that we believe that our service is unmatched in the industry. And when you say that, you don't want to just, talk the talk, you want to walk the walk. So, something that we pride ourselves in as customer service is Hostetler Insurance Group. We do not have an automated phone system. So what that means is when you call, someone's going to answer the phone. We have a very unique phone system that, as I shared, we have 4 locations. It doesn't matter whether you're in any part of Ohio. We are licensed and our coverage areas are Ohio. We are also licensed to sell insurance in North Carolina and Florida. So Florida, coastal with everything that's going on, we don't do a lot of business there. But when our phone rings, it rings in all 4 offices. So you get to talk to someone. So that means a lot to us.
For sure. That's super important. So I always like to ask businesses if there's like an industry tip that you would like to give people, something that could be helpful for the individual.
Sure. We were kind of joking this morning on the way down, what an appropriate tip for this morning with the weather. Slow down, take your time getting to wherever you're going. But really an industry tip, one of the things I think of is, life is busy. Life situations change so much, whether you're a young individual, you get a new job, you get married, you have kids, an industry tip is, take the time to do a review with your agent. So many times life is so busy, something changes and you just don't think about, well, maybe something changed. I put an addition on the house. I purchased some new toy or something. Sometimes it can, not that you want to forget it or call your insurance agent, but take the time, once a year to do a review with your insurance agent. Just, make sure that everything is, in line. One of the things that I personally specialize, we are master certified through one of our carriers for agribusiness insurance. My partner and I, we grew up on a very large dairy farm. So, we love the farming, agribusiness policies. We know it, we live it. And farmers love to talk about their equipment, but I can't tell you how many times they buy, new pieces of equipment and they're so busy during harvest, they just forget to call. So we really pride ourselves on trying to touch every single renewal that comes through our office just to make sure that things are still in line.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure insurance, but their pricing strategies change every few years.
Sure.
So just that alone, you want to make sure you're getting the best deal for what you can get out there in a few years.
And you don't just want to, cut coverages to save a little bit of money.
Correct.
There's things that maybe, you had some endorsements on your policy that you don't need anymore. Maybe there's, something on your policy that you've gotten rid of. So there's always ways to review that, maybe cut some things that are no longer needed without cutting your coverage or, raising deductible. Sure, you can raise your deductible, taking on a larger risk. So therefore the carrier might lower your premium a little bit, but, times are tough right now. And, that's not always beneficial either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So being a chamber member focused show, I always like to ask in closing, are there any chamber members you'd like to give a shout out to that's helped you grow and support your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many. Well, first of all, Sean, I know you did some work for my brother, and just the opportunity that you approached me about having the opportunity to be on this show. And also there's so many chamber members that, I've been so blessed to have the opportunity to insure both personally and from a business standpoint. And then again, I already had mentioned, Molly Romig, what a superstar. She's been at the forefront of of chamber tip clubs for so long. I've been with her for 20, 25 years, and she just does a great, great job. Can't say enough about Molly Robing.
Definitely.
Well, Shannon, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks so much, guys. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it. Wasn't aware of anything like this was going on, but this has really been fun. So thanks to the both of you so much.
Thank you.
Up next is our business tip of the week, brought to you by SPS Consulting Systems.
Hi, everyone. Sean Hetrick, SPS Consulting Systems. The tip of the week this week, since we're getting into the first of the year here, is really an IT-based one. You really need to make sure your backups are right. If you do not have good backups, you can really be in about, kind of like with insurance, you want to make sure before something happens that you have good backups. Now, you need multiple types of backups because of how sophisticated ransomware has gotten over the years. You want to have a local backup, and then you want to have something off-site, either in the cloud or taken off-site, whether it be daily, weekly. I wouldn't recommend monthly, but daily or weekly are probably the best. But that off-site one is super important because how ransomware works is ransomware can lock down your computer, but it also locks down any drives that are attached to it too. So that's why it's really, really important to make sure that. And just go check it. Try a restore, try to restore a file just to make sure everything's all really in place. It's a good thing to do at the beginning of the year just to make sure that you're safe. Again, this is Sean Hetrick, SPS Consulting Systems.
Sean, thank you for the tip. Well, don't forget to visit Canton Chamber Regional Commerce website at the cantonchamber.org so you can stay updated to all the events they have coming up. I know they have a full calendar this year, so a lot of great networking events coming up here, spring networking and everything. So.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.